From the Beaver County Auto Studios here high above Market Square in downtown Pittsburgh, it's another Penguins Live chat. Hi, I'm Dan Kingerski. So, what do you think of the evening? With, I guess when the Penguins are at home, we'll be doing evening. Maybe when the Penguins are on the road, we'll be doing daytime. We'll see how it all goes down. So, lots of news from the locker room today. I could have done no less than 6 stories coming out of there. I even had a chance to talk with Garrett Wilson. I couldn't resist kind of sidling over there, and I even said to him, listen, based on my social media feed, it looks like people are noticing the chances you're creating, and a lot of people are starting to really push for you to score a goal. And he's like, well, thanks, man. He's a little bit surprised by that. He is, before we dive into the real meaty topics, I think this is kind of the more fun stuff, isn't it? Rooting for a guy to score his first NHL goal. He's feeling pressure. He said he's not pressing. But when I had a chance to chat with him, and I haven't put it up on YouTube either, I didn't know if 20 of you would care about it. But yeah, he's starting to feel it. He's starting to get a little bit frustrated by that. And it's a shame Derek Grant isn't around, because what did Grant go? Is it 81 or 91 games before Derek Grant scored his first goal? It was something ridiculous like that. Let me get this set. How's that? You can't see my face as well this way, which is probably a good thing, right? So do me a favor, jump on the chat board, and let's dive into this, because we've got all night to do this. Give me a quick second here while I share it via Twitter. The Penguins' lines are a jumbled mess right now, and there's just no other way. Let me see if I actually did have I had a couple graphics to pull up, and I think I misplaced them. Let me see if I got them real quick. It's one of those things where I was racing to get on the air here, or the YouTube thing as quickly as I could. No. So let me tell you what I think is going to go down here. You know the lines right now: Gensel, Crosby, some combination of Simone, Rust. Then you've got the second line with Malkin when he comes back. Again, Pearson and Kessel in and out of those spots. Simone and Hornquist and Rust in and out of those spots. You know what I can do? Actually, I can pull it up right here. Let's do this. Ha-ha. Always more than one way to skin a cat, I should say. So right there, you can see the Penguins' lines as they kind of set last night. Pearson and Bukestad and Kessel, Simone, McCann and Hornquist. This is all, of course, without Evgeny Malkin. Do you want to take a look here? We can actually start playing. We can goof around with the lines as I think they would or should be. What do you think? I'm going to do it anyway. In fact, I just did, didn't I? There you are. There's how I see the lines kind of eventually shaking out. Oh, wait, that's the same one. Okay. Go down here to page. Where's all the darned icons? I give up. What happened here? It's a cluster, I tell you. It's an absolute cluster. But anyway, I am still very much in favor of keeping Bukestad with Kessel as a third line. The only other option the Penguins legitimately have is Jared McCann. unless they're going to try Teddy Bluger. Those are your three choices: Bukestad, McCann, or Bluger with Kessel. I am playing shorthanded here tonight because I really want to get into a couple issues there. But I know you really don't want me to. I know you do not want me to tell you exactly what I have seen with regard to some of your favorite players. Boy, I tried to lead you to water today. I put up some arrows in the forest towards the pond. Didn't go all the way to the pond. And I was curious if a few of you caught those arrows. On Tuesday night, Tanner Pearson had 0 shot attempts. 0.0. He's got 13 points in 37 games as a Penguin, which means he's got 14 points in 54 games this season. Now, that's just nowhere close to good enough, is it? Man, oh man, I know I saved. Oh, I know where I saved those lines. Now I have to find the file here real quick. Aha. There's the lines that I created. Kind of a real cut and paste hack job. Take a look. You know, Rust on that top line right wing is interchangeable with Simone on that top line right wing. I like Malkin and Hornquist. Keep Malkin linear. North and south. Go north and south. That's all there is to it. The third line, when everybody gets healthy, let me take that off of there real quick. I like Zach Aston-Reese with Nick Bukestad and Phil Kessel. Think of the jam on that line, the size that they've got. They can afford to play with Kessel. Aston-Reese and Kessel had a little something cooking when Brassard was in the middle of them. There's no reason that Bukestad can't be in the middle and actually contribute. Let him go to the net. Let Aston-Reese fish pucks in the corner. Let Aston-Reese go to the net while Bukestad fishes pucks in the corner. And let Kessel do what Kessel does. And the fourth line. Unfortunately, I flipped Bluger to the right wing just to keep him in the lineup. Although, if I'm being blunt here, I think Jared McCann has to show me a little bit more than what I've seen in the first few games. Otherwise, I've got no problem flipping Bluger over to the left wing on the fourth line and putting Garrett Wilson right back on that right wing. And you're like, what are you talking about, Kingerski? And I'm talking about production. Doesn't matter what your pedigree is. It doesn't matter what you should produce. It matters what you do produce. And Garrett Wilson is Garrett Wilson's producing, kids. Garrett Wilson, his scoring chances, believe it or not, well in the positive. Now, this is for a fourth line, mind you. Let me get back to the chat board here so I can see your comments. Brad says, bring it on, Dan. It's about the Penguins winning a cup, not the name on a jersey. And Christian says they want me to get into what I want to talk about, but won't as well. This is where the discretion is the better part of valor. 2 or 3 years ago, I would have just torn this situation right to shreds. I would have gone right to the heart of the matter. But I want you to figure it out instead. Because if I just tell you what you kind of know but don't want to know, then you'll never know it. If I come out strongly for an unpopular position, it just hardens the groupthink and the kind of the rose-colored glasses and the fingers in the ears. No, you didn't say that. Kind of crowd, doesn't it? So I'm taking the soft approach on this one. I think shrewd hockey observers will have read my article this morning. Who's not buying in? Who needs to invest? From whom do the Penguins need additional investment? Who is being referred to when the Penguins say that? Now, I irritated Mike Sullivan today. I knew I was going to irritate him. I knew I was going to get a little bit of a brushback answer, and I did. There was just no other way to ask the question. If you watch the YouTube video, you can kind of see him give me the look. I'm not going to point fingers here, which he was smart. I was curious how he was going to answer my question, which was last night Chris Letang mentioned, or his response was, look, we need investment from 20 guys. Sullivan has said, we need buy-in from everyone. Isn't the direct inference from those statements the fact that some aren't buying in, some aren't investing night in and night out? Isn't that the investment? Isn't that the inference? It certainly is to me, and that's exactly what I asked Sullivan. I said, well, by inference, that means people aren't. And he didn't tear my head off, to his credit. He could have probably given me a bit more of a brushback, but he kind of after he got into his answer, his stock answers. We need everybody to be successful, et cetera, and it was time to move on. I wasn't gonna, I'm not a prosecutor. I just simply asked the question. So Jared here says Blueger deserves more minutes. I'm not going to argue. I like the kid. He is very Brian Rustian. And to have a couple of those guys on your team is not a bad thing. I wonder, let me see if I can pull that back up here. I wonder. Let's my half-assed cut and paste lines here. I wonder if Blueger could handle second line with Malkin and Hornquist. I wonder this. There's no right or wrong answer. I think Zach Aston Reese can also handle that second line. I think Zach Aston Reese, for a time anyway, can handle top line right wing with Crosby. I don't think Aston Reese is really suited for that. But what the heck? Blueger, Aston Reese, Rust, Simone. You can really shuffle those guys around on a night in and night out basis on who is producing. Let's see here. McDavid. Oh, I didn't see McDavid calling out the Oilers. They've hit rock bottom. I guess we won't get into that too much, Brad. I don't have any cool graphics set up for that. Kyle, what about Jonathan Taves? You lost me, brother. Or Brock Bess. Kyle, where are you going with all this? With all these names, huh? Okay, so Brad asked, with Murray hurt, does this force Jim to take a strong look at bringing in another goalie? No. I don't know that the asset the Penguins would have to give up. Look, Detroit wants a number one for Jimmy Howard. Otherwise, I see them re-signing him. Columbus is going to want a pretty penny for Sergei Bobrovsky, and they certainly would want a pretty penny from the Penguins for Bobrovsky. And I don't know how many other backup goalies or other goalies could be available. I don't know. Arizona, Comfort is red hot right now. And Ranta has been really racked with injuries, and they're in the playoff race. Arizona's a few points out of the playoffs. Calgary's got Mike Smith now kind of riding behind David Rittich. Or is it Rittich? I've been following Rittich for a few years since they signed him out of the Czech League. I was in one of those dynasty leagues, and I just grabbed him on a flyer and loved my luck. But those are the things that there's just not a lot of goalies on the market. If there were, I think you would have seen the Flyers have one by now. The Penguins would be hard-pressed to upgrade over Tristan Jarry. And they've got Jarry without giving up any assets. Side note, this is why the Penguins can't trade Tristan Jarry here at the deadline. As much as you might want to see the asset they could bring in return for Jarry, that's a pretty good insurance policy. And the Penguins need that insurance policy. Without question, they need it. If the Penguins choose to deal Jarry this summer, makes a lot of sense when they've got time to find a third goalie. But, look, this guy has to find a way to stay healthy. I don't know what happened last night in the first period. He was elbowed in the head. He kind of went down. He was fixing his mask behind the play. I'm sure he barked at the orange armband a little bit as well. He should have. It was kind of an obvious elbow to the head without reason for really crashing the crease like it were. But Sullivan said it wasn't a concussion. So I don't know where or how it could have happened. But we do get into this guy, Tristan Jarry, on an emergency recall. So it's not an official recall. As soon as Murray is available, Jarry has to go down. Christian wants to know, dumb question, why does Sully not seem too keen on giving the Wilkes-Barre guys too many minutes like he did when he brought the guys up he coached in 2016? Are you Christian, who are you referring to? Bluger and their delay in calling him up, or where are you headed with that? I think they are managing Bluger very carefully. Maybe it's experience. The Penguins weren't a Stanley Cup champion in 2016. They were actually in a bit of a retooling moment. And it wasn't until they caught fire that they began to realize they had something. So the situation has an entirely different chassis now than it did in 16. If you throw Bluger to the Wolves too soon, you risk hurting the player. Of course, if you don't give him enough, you never find out, right? Fine line. Very fine line. I think you're going to see Bluger continue to earn more minutes. Hey, look, Brian Rust, Connor Sherry, Tom Kuhnackel. These guys were all fourth liners when they first came up. And through the process of performance, earned a greater place in the lineup. I think we forget sometimes because they were top six fairly soon after their recalls that they were bottom line pluggers when they came up. They had to earn their way, much like Bluger does. Let's see here. Cool Carl mentions the article in the Post-Gazette. Yeah, I gave Jason Mackey a stick tap. Did it make me feel comfortable about the trade and his failure to produce while being a Penguin? interesting question. Cool, Carl. I knew why. I knew a while ago, and I think we've talked about this, and I've shared that, it didn't work because he was always the odd man out, or feeling like he was the odd man out. He just never got the motor going in those 12 to 14 minutes. I will say this. Maybe I'll tuck this in a column somehow. I probably should do like a 7 thoughts, 5 thoughts kind of column on this week's events. Mike Sullivan made a mistake with Broussard in this aspect. Broussard would have been very happy to play left wing beside Evgeny Malkin. Would have been ecstatic. You look at the trade today, New Jersey got Brian Boyle, Nashville got Brian Boyle from New Jersey for just a second-round pick. Now, it would have required shedding a little bit more salary, but the Penguins could have gotten Boyle and his $4 million for a second-round pick, slide Broussard up to that left wing, and maybe, it would have cost them dumping a Riley Sheahan and a couple $1 million somewhere else. Sacrificing, somewhere else. It would have cost them. But I think it was possible to get creative there. The Penguins, and I wrote this back in the summer of 17, so you can't say that I'm rearview mirroring it. Is that a verb? It is now. For the Penguins in 17, it was Bonino, Boyle, or bust. That was actually my column title. Pretty snazzy, huh? And the Penguins busted. They waited on Riley Sheahan. That didn't work. They had Greg McKegg in the very interim. They had to try Jake Gensel. Then they went big on Derek Broussard. And all of it none of it ever worked in that third line situation. And quite frankly, the way Mike Sullivan talked today, and the way the Penguins have been talking, they have refused to say Bukestad is their third line center. Almost exclusively refused to say that. Every time they're asked, it's, well, he's played wing more than the last couple years. We think he's got these attributes. So, is the Penguins' third-line center situation solved yet? Read between the lines. Or not even so between the lines. If it's not Bukestad, then the Penguins have to be shopping again for a center. That part I don't get. I think they're curious to see Bukestad beside Crosby, but how much better will he be than, say, a Brian Rust or even a Simone? Simone creates a lot of chances. Don't overlook that part. JCW. Coincidence that Murray has a couple mediocre games and now he's on the shelf again for another reset? No, that's a black helicopter I'm not gonna ride. Jerry says it's very simple. Murray has a few good games. Opposing teams catch on to his playing. Injury time. Off a few weeks, comes back. He's trying to keep his percentage up. I see how that stuff makes sense from afar, guys, but don't you don't have to really go there. The Penguins are not a shady fly-by-night KHL team that would pull some of that stuff. It's just it's not. That's been Tristan Jarry up there for a long time. Sorry, I've been talking to you like you could see me. I wonder how long that's been. Anyway, Mutation says, Dan, crep up the good work. Thanks, Mutation. I'll crep it up and keep dishing the crep and slinging the crep. Z Smooth says, what do you think of the possible Gensel, Crosby, Bukestad line? I think it's got potential, but I also think it hurts the down line more. I'm not necessarily a big believer unless Jared McCann or Bluger can handle that third line role. Look, I'm going to be very, if you stuck with me for 25 minutes through probably 5 minutes of staring at Tristan Jarry, I'll dig into this a little bit for you. At some point, don't you have to begin to point the finger at Phil Kessel? At some point, does that third line with Kessel not have to work? He gets top power play time that Brassard didn't get to feel included, which pads Kessel's minutes. So even when he's playing third line, he gets 15, 16, sometimes up to 18, depending on the game. At some point, doesn't Kessel have to make it work? He was god-awful on Tuesday night. He was a bit of a ghost in Toronto. He was really good Friday night against Ottawa. Now, Penguins fans would chirp and criticize and pile on a player who has one good game, 2 and 3 games off. No one else is allowed to do that. So what do you want me to say? The Penguins need a center to play with Kessel. He's got to be on the third line. And what started that little mini rant was it's got to be third line. Malkin is better off without Kessel. Kessel might be better off with Malkin. But the Penguins and Malkin are not better off with Kessel on that line. There's just no doubt in my mind. There's zero question when I say that Kessel is best with another center. Because Kessel and Malkin just cannot resist the temptation to be idiots. To dangle when they shouldn't dangle, to toe drag and stick handle and cross ice pass and globetrotter hockey. They just can't resist when they're on the ice together. Break them up and Malkin begins to play a bit more north-south, especially with Hornquist. So you get a better Malkin without Kessel. Can McCann handle it? I kind of don't think so. Can Bluger handle it? I don't think so. I think Bukestad is really, help me, Nick Bukestad, you're my only hope kind of deal. Bad Star Wars reference. Sorry. Let's see here. If I had to speculate, what's Murray's upper body injury? Not touching that. He got elbowed in the head. Sullivan said it's not a concussion. Your guess is really as good as mine. Maybe the same birdie that mentioned that Malkin doesn't have a broken hand will chirp in our ear soon. And if that happens, we'll report it if we're allowed. And if not, I'll hint at it. I guess that's the best way I can. Let's see here. If the Penguins sent Murray down, have to pay his current contract. Yep. The Mormon Gamers wants to know about Diorio. What about him? No, that's not an NHL goalie anytime soon, if ever. There. When all of the forwards are when all of the forwards are healthy, who gets sent down to Wilkes-Barre? Jared asks. Jared, I think Garrett Wilson gets sent down, and after that, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It'll be a performance thing. I think if McCann recedes to the shadows, but even then, he's 22. They would risk losing him. Maybe it's Zach Aston Reese to the playoffs. I don't know. I think Zach Aston Reese is better than Tanner Pearson for the Penguins. I'm at a loss to say what Pearson is bringing to the squad at this point. He really has to discover what he's lost, whether it's mojo, confidence, if he's got a bad injury, whatever it might be. This is not the Tanner Pearson that I saw in Los Angeles in previous years, and this is not the guy that our folks in Los Angeles said the Penguins were getting. Would the Penguins trade for Kovalchuk? No and hell no. He signed a 4-year deal, Mormon. At 35 years old, he signed a 4-year deal that pays him real money. He's not making scraps. So, no. Let's see here. Pearson needs a good kick. Something. Rust, Bukestad, and Kessel could be the new version of HBK. It could. Z smooth. However, you know what separates HBK from that RBK line? Phil Kessel. If Kessel dedicates himself to it, one of the best players in the game. I don't know, maybe those rings in his pocket have slowed him down. I have avoided kicking, putting the boots to Kessel this season for the most part, just because it's not worth the outcry. But I have not been much of a fan of his game. Just have not seen the things I need to see from Phil Kessel. Do you think they pulled the trigger too quickly on Hagelin, or is it a jumpstart scare to show the Penguins? Yeah, look, Jim Rutherford hasn't made a mistake just yet. Not every deal works out, and the Penguins have plenty of time to figure out what's going on with Pearson. They really should be getting a lot more out of him. But last night, and hopefully you subscribe to PHN Extra so you can read the report card and the full tactical analysis of the game, win or lose. Some games, it's just too good, or some games it's too bad where I don't do the report card, but those are rare. Last night, Pearson was a mile away from the puck. I mean, they couldn't get the puck to him if they tried. He was just in a different time zone against Carolina. And by the way, I think Sullivan, when he watched the video, be it last night, this morning, after he talked with the media and was kind of defensive of the team, he had a whole different tone today. Everything's on the table today. You will see changes coming to the Penguins, including, where is he? You're going to see Jack Johnson, I think, with a different partner very soon. Now, I'm not going to leave Jack Johnson up here for 10 minutes. Yeah, Sullivan had a whole different outlook on the game. And the reason for that, and I got into this in the report card, I did the math. Of the Penguins' 8 high-danger scoring chances, Crosby had 6, or was, involved in 6 of them. The fourth line had 1. Means the other 2 lines, nothing. So you're going to see. You're going to see. Where is my Apple charger? So I can see all of your chats here. But do I think they pulled the trigger too quickly on Hagelin? Not really. I think they tried to get they got an asset, or they thought they got an asset, and they tried to jumpstart the team. Trade Kessel, that's kind of not really a realistic solution for what they would get back versus what they would potentially lose. And I think that's the way they see it. They know what Kessel can bring. But if he doesn't produce in these playoffs coming up here, April, May, if he's not good down the stretch again like he did last year, after they took him off the line with Malkin and he essentially pouted, then all bets are off. But until then, he's one of the legs of the Penguins' stool. Let's see here. Oh, there went my... Hang on. I lost my... oh, there's no plugs over here, so I can't even... I have to change laptops again. Another pit stop coming up. Time me. All right, here we go. Yada da 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 yada da 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 da. What was that? Like 14 seconds? As I was saying, Jack Johnson. Last night, just the way that the penalties worked out, he was on the ice with Brian Dumoulin for several shifts. And I think the Penguins began to wonder, okay, let's see where this goes. And so today at practice, we again saw Jack Johnson and Brian Dumoulin together. There is... Pettersson has come back to earth. And I know you're ready to pounce on Jack Johnson. Believe me, every time there's a goal scored, he's on the ice. That's what I just look at my Twitter feed. Jack Johnson on the ice. Jack Johnson on the ice. There's Jack Johnson on the ice. Oh, on the ice is Jack Johnson. Just, it blows up. And last night, Johnson and I don't know if it was Dumoulin, Mata, or Pettersson. I think it was Pettersson that got caught on the ice during Carolina's second goal when that just extended pressure. And somehow Jack Johnson took the brunt of that. Despite, hey, look, there's Sidney Crosby out there. It was just one of those shifts where Carolina had it. Let me tell you something about Jack Johnson's game. There is ample reason for criticism. You're like, wait, what, Dan? You defend Jack Johnson? I do. Because I think the reasons for criticism are often negated by the extenuating circumstances. Jack Johnson is not a right-side defenseman. I don't care what he says. Like, oh, it's not that much different. It's hugely different. He's not a guy who has good puck skills to begin with. He's a heavy, stay-at-home defender. Now, by playing the right side, and the reason I haven't, I haven't gone there with Johnson. Teams know that he's on his offside. Do you think they forecheck him so that he can use his forehand, or do you think they come at him at an angle, forecheck him, and pin him to the wall and pin him to the glass? NHL players aren't stupid, kids. They know exactly who they're playing, and they don't have to think about it. They know. And so what you see are teams pushing Johnson to his backhand. And literally, most of the time, the only play he has is that safety chip off the glass out to center ice, where a Penguins forward may or may not get the puck. That's just all he has. Because you can't... mere mortals don't have Sidney Crosby's backhand. And so it's not like he can look up on his backhand and fire the puck headman out to the red line and catch a guy in stride. Best he can do is the bank shot out of the zone or reverse the play. That's why I haven't gone after Johnson. When Justin Schultz comes back, we're going to find out. because Johnson can then move to the left side, be it whether Johnson plays with Justin Schultz or Johnson plays with Juuso Riikola and Mata and Schultz reunite. Jonathan Mumboli and I were talking about this last night, and I'm going to give Jonathan credit, so I hope he doesn't mind me using his name. I'm name-dropping the big guys now. He had the stat that in the playoffs last year, there might have been one even-strength goal Mata and Schultz gave up. With given how sloppy the Penguins were in the playoffs, that's extraordinary. I didn't remember them being that good. But if they gave up one goal with as well as, or as poorly as the Penguins played, I did leave the Johnson thing up there. How long was that up there? Like 5 minutes? See, I had to start talking. Cool, Carl says he hasn't been able to pass the puck as well during the cup runs. Carl, this is an entirely different game the Penguins are playing. In 2016, it was run and gun. It was speed to the max, 200 feet, close puck support, tick, 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 tick. Just keep the puck, keep moving the puck, keep shooting the puck, be faster than the opponents to get to the puck. That was literally their game in 16. They can't do that now. You saw Carolina do that to them last night. What they can do is just infinitely better puck support. But to maintain the puck, they've got to play down low. They have to. And this is where their heart and their head are colliding. In their heart, they still feel like that team that can play on the rush and just dominate teams by being better. In their head, they know their identity is no longer that team. And so when a team like Carolina comes along, and Carolina baited the Penguins last night, and they took it hook, line, and sinker. Carolina gave that stretch pass, and the Penguins took it. Oh, they tried to run with them in the first period, didn't they? And what happened? The Penguins got a few good scoring chances, but they were one and done. And why were they one and done? Because that stretch pass created a tier. Carolina was able to get players back and players in the middle ahead of the rest of the Penguins' wave. So by the time, the play began to shake out, Carolina was in just fine position. They baited the Penguins. And, the Penguins, like seeing a big wheel of cheese on the mousetrap, just jumped at it. That's the way to beat the Penguins. Make them think that they can play on the rush. And just drop a defenseman back. Ta-da, you neutralize the rush. But the Penguins will have that thirst and that taste for it. And you get an advantage until the Penguins figure out that they have to get down low and hang on to the puck and grind a little bit and use their superior talent. But I've only written that about 8,000 times. I think Mike Sullivan said it about 9,000 times. Train fan. Hey, Dan, what do you think of the new additions to the Penguins? Also, what do you think of Letang and his play lately? I can tell, Train fan, you're on your phone because my phone also capitalizes the T in Letang. I have no idea why. I've typed Letang 1,000 times, and it still autocorrect still wants to capitalize the T. I like Bjugstad. McCann, don't sleep on him. But Florida got the better player in the deal. They really did. And you see what Brassard is doing on the left wing with Trocheck and former teammate Mike Hoffman. He's having a blast down there. So the Penguins, by default, lost that trade. Let me see if I can pull up my tweet from earlier today. when I laid out everything the Penguins have given up, pre-Brassard to today, and what they've spent to essentially acquire Bukestad and McCann. As soon as Twitter comes up here, I'll get to it. Jerry wants to know while I'm waiting for this, my honest opinion as a sportscaster, do you feel this injury-prone Murray is a bit of a dog and pony show for professional sports? I don't know what you mean, Jerry. I'm sorry. I don't. How would Murray's injury be a dog and pony show? You mean fake? Look, I saw some things in the minors that were a wee bit exaggerated or team-friendly, but that was the lowest level of the minors. When if the team had to roster a guy, he would have lost his job. So it was like, oh yeah, my hip does hurt. Boy, that was a rough check. Ouch. You know, for a week or so, just to keep the job and the paycheck, you know? That crap doesn't happen in the NHL as much as we think it does. And I guess that's probably all I can say about it. Let's see here. Let me get back to it. Oh, tweet. Where is it? Here it is. Trying to make sure I hide my DMs. So I have to maybe enlarge the screen here. You all don't need to see who's DMing me. Okay. I can safely pull that up now. Maybe. Oh, that's right. That was on the Apple. I can't pull up the Mac. Or I can't pull up this dinosaur here. Never mind. Anyway, here it is. The Predators got Brian Boyle for a second-round pick. Now, to get McCann, Bukestad, and a third-round pick, the Penguins gave up a number 1 pick, a number 2 pick, 2 number 4 picks, Philip Gustafsson, Ian Cole, Ryan Reeves, Derek Brassard, and Riley Sheahan. Ouch. That's how much the Penguins gave up to get to this point here. Let's see here. Z says we've got Dumoulin, Mata, Pettersson, Johnson. Can pair 3 of them with offensive defensemen. Who would you leave out? Would you trade somebody? Well, they traded Alexiak. I don't think you'll see any more trades. I would leave Marcus Pettersson as the 7th defenseman right now. I just really, his game needs a bit of a reset. The Penguins' layered approach with improvisation and the way the Penguins have been playing, I think it's befuddled him a little bit. What I've seen are the faster Eastern Conference teams be able to get at him and get to him, get into him before he can move the puck, which has created some issues. I've seen teams edge rush Pettersson and have success that way too. So, given my choice between Pettersson and Johnson, that's an easy one for me. I keep Johnson in the lineup. And, Johnson takes the left side with Riikola, who's actually become a pretty fair right-side defenseman, especially for the third pairing. Johnson, Riikola could be a fair third pairing if Mata and Schultz go. I think the Penguins are going to take a look at Schultz and Johnson like they did in the preseason, but that's pure conjecture on my part. Let's take a look here. What else have we got? Let me add a little something to the screen so your eyes are more pleased. I make sure I've got all the questions here. Wow, 50 minutes have gone by already. Mutation keeps... No, I'm not doing a Patreon account. Mutation, if you want to subscribe to PHN Extra, I'd love it. You can jump on there, do it monthly, and that way I keep all the money, as opposed to giving giving a third away to a Patreon. And I don't think people are going to pay for these chats, quite frankly. I just don't think there's a lot of monetary value besides what YouTube gives us. Last call for questions, kids. I see the numbers have picked up just a bit here. Maybe I should have started it at 7 o'clock. I probably should have. By the way, do you all see this banner back here? Only Mike Asti would have a Bam Morris autographed Super Bowl pennant and not know it was Bam Morris. Only Asti, man. Only you. Only you, man. There's an autograph on the top that you can kind of see. Let me see if I can. Right there, just above my hand, there's an autograph there. It's Bam Morris. And longtime Steelers fans will realize why I'm chuckling at that. What an infamous player to have autographed. I like to keep all the banners up now just so it's all decorated. Nice and pretty. Okay, I guess that's just about it. Do me a favor, like and subscribe to this, comment, and share it around. The more you do, the more we get paid. The higher it goes in the search rankings for the rest of the channel as well. And check out the Penguins Locker Room video. If you want to watch me get spanked by Mike Sullivan, that's in the Sullivan practice video today. I had to ask. I had to have him kind of brush me back. I knew what was coming. And by the way, I hadn't had lunch yet, but I had a big coffee at the practice arena. And I just not even thinking about it. With all that caffeine and no food, my leg was shaking like I was about to wet myself. He had to, I must have looked like I needed a straitjacket or something, with my leg probably shaking, or I don't know if it was visible or just if it felt like it. But Sullivan does not get too chummy with the media, and I wonder, he's thinking, what is this idiot? I'm not going to answer that question. Of course not. Why did you ask? But I had to ask. I had to get that sort of rebuttal, that kind of on the record. Even if he went to cliches after a second, I had to maybe brush my can across the cage just a little bit. I don't like doing that. I know some reporters really get off on that kind of stuff, and that's not me. I'd rather figure out the truth than go there. Let's see here. Who's in the pick? Oh, back here. That. So I can get it off here. That is Jaromir Jagr hugging Wayne Gretzky after Jagr scored an overtime goal to end Gretzky's career. That's that night in New York. Was it 98, 99? It kind of looks a little funky, doesn't it? Can you? Anyway. Let's see here. One of the reasons the Capitals won the Cup last year, they kicked back, let the offense attack, broke it up, caught the other team off guard, and attacked themselves. Yeah, look, they counterattacked. That's exactly right. Don't underestimate, Z, how the Capitals pounded their opponents, and the Penguins took note of that. That's why the Penguins were happy to get Jack Johnson. That's why the Penguins are pushing so hard for this new identity to play down low. The Penguins want that identity because they feel like that's where the game is headed. They feel like they broke the speed barrier, and now the next barrier is size and speed. That's just where it's going to go. And you can't have, size and speed playing on the rush too often. There aren't many good guys. And the way to just control the puck is to dominate down low. force the other team to, wear them down. That's why the Penguins have been so Jekyll and Hyde this year, trying to really change their heart and their mind to what they think will be successful. Let's see here. Cullen gets 60 points this season playing second. Okay, good. He put in just kidding. All right, that just about does it for me. I do appreciate y'all more than you know. Of course, if you ever see me out in public, the first beer is on me. The next two are on you. We'll do maybe another one Friday during the day. We'll see how Thursday night in Florida goes. We have got a lot to talk about. We'll do another chat here on Pittsburgh Sports Live. Like I said, click that subscribe button, like, share, and comment. Not necessarily in that order. We'll talk again, kids, real soon. Have fun.